If you do not go in with the right mindset when negotiating or trying to find a suitable supplier for your e-commerce business, you are at risk of getting ripped off, wasting your time, and ruining your chances of leveraging good suppliers in China. So the first thing you should know about working with Chinese suppliers is that they have the pay first, business later attitude. No way are they going to take the risk with you when it comes to making me partial payments for a large order unless you have it in contract and been doing business with them for a while. If you are new to the game, don't expect them to believe that your business is going to go off and you're going to give them a lot of good word of mouth if they provide you samples for free and all that. That typically doesn't work well. And if it does work, you can kind of get the sense that these suppliers are kind of desperate and you don't know if their business is kind of stable. They want to protect their business as much as you want to protect yours. So you're going to need to find a middle ground. A lot of the times they're going to expect payment up front in order for them to continue. Now, you don't want to give them a large payment on something that sounds too good to be true where you can get scammed. Of course, you want to make sure there's systems in place or that you're using third-party platforms like 1688, Alibaba, AliExpress, so that you can be protected in the event that they're trying to scam you. But the point is, don't go into the negotiation thinking that you can say, hey, can you send me a free sample? Or can I pay for 10% of the order, but you start production on 50% of the order? No, they're not going to do that unless you're a big name like Walmart, Sam's Club, and you can prove it with like credentials that you're actually this kind of business. Another thing about these Chinese suppliers is that it's all about the numbers. If you have a front-end store already and an established business, or you have market share and data that you can share with them, with the suppliers, you can build their confidence so that they don't see you as like a hit it and quit it customer where you just go in there for one-time purchase and then you leave and don't have future business. You need to show them that you're in this for the long term in the future and that you are able to fulfill your initial requirements. Sometimes they may throw at you MOQs, minimum order quantity, where they want to disqualify you up front because they know you don't mean real business. Now, I'm not saying they won't send you samples. Of course, all business owners understand that you want to try the product before making a huge commitment. So asking for samples is okay, but expect to pay a higher premium for that sample versus the pricing you get if you order, let's say, like 100 units. And you just need to communicate with them that the sample is going to be used to determine the quality of the product before I make larger orders. Now, another thing to know about these suppliers is timely purchases. If the supplier knows that you have the ability to pay them directly on the same day in their preferred method, they will be more willing to work with you. I have ran into many scenarios where I could have paid the supplier in USD or in Chinese yuan directly into their account. And because they were able to get the money faster and accounted for it in Chinese yuan, I was able to cut down the cost 10 to 20% because they didn't want to deal with all the paperwork of changing the currency from USD to Chinese yuan. So they want to work with me for a longer period, knowing that I can pay them in their bank account directly on the same day. Something I have to admit is that the banking systems in China are quite developed and fast. They're not like in the US that they have the ACH system that takes like 1 or 2 business days, or if it's a weekend, you have to wait for the business days to come to pay them. In China, you can pay them directly within 5 minutes or seconds, as long as you know their bank account information, their name, and they'll get it immediately in their account. No matter what time of the day it is, you can have their transaction like midnight and they can see it in their account, which is something I do appreciate with the Chinese banking system. And FYI, if you are ever in need of being able to pay suppliers directly and you don't have a Chinese bank account or a method to actually access the procurement platforms in China, I allow you to buy directly from the supplier on my website, borderlesscommerce.net. You can try for free by simply scanning the code. You can download the mobile app as well, and you can save yourself between 30 to 50% of the product pricing that you will see on platforms like AliExpress and Alibaba. So if you're interested, visit the website or scan the QR code. Another thing you need to know about these suppliers is that they're going to ask you, hey, what are your requirements? Don't expect these suppliers to give you consultation, especially if you're talking to the factory directly. They have orders that they need to fulfill every day, and they don't have time to give you consultation. Don't confuse working directly with a factory versus working with a sourcing agent. They just care about the numbers of getting their products out, and getting the payments received for their products. When you're talking to these factories, you're either going to need to know exactly what your requirements are for your country and what you need for the product, or you need to consult with somebody beforehand before you have this conversation with them. Because in most cases, they can do small tweaks to the product, but when it comes to a large-scale configuration or customization, chances are they won't have any experience when it comes to them, and they usually already have a steady business model with steady customers, so they're less likely to customize for you or even give you some consultation on how to improve the product for your market without a huge investment. Going back to my first point, money first, talk later, is if you want to customize a product specifically for your brand and it's not white labeling or anything, expect a huge investment upfront for them to do the R&D to actually fulfill on that order. So my recommendation is that when you talk to these suppliers, you have the mindset of all the requirements all set out for your business model or your products, and you don't ask them for any consultation. In some rare cases, they may be able to provide you with some tips, but usually they don't do that. So it's good to know what kind of packing you need, what features you need the products to have, how it needs to be packed, and all that. And that goes into my last point of working with these suppliers and the mindset you should have is expect them to have a lack of international expertise. Now, this is for suppliers that are simply selling in the domestic platforms like 168 or Pinduoduo, because that's how you get the cheapest pricing inside of those platforms. Once you go to Alibaba and AliExpress, they mark up the pricing and they usually have overseas experience or they have shipping partners already established so that they can ship the products directly. If you're going direct to the supplier, they won't have this experience and therefore you will need to kind of guide them on, let's say, shipping it to the shipping agent. Chances are they won't have a shipping agent that can ship overseas, or if they do ship overseas, they'll have to go through a pretty complicated process to do that. I've actually had a scenario where there was a person that wanted to buy an automatic lawnmower that you just push a button, it will automatically mow your lawn. And the problem was that if I pay them in Chinese RMB, they're like, okay, you can pay me Chinese RMB, I can ship it to your shipping agent, and we're done. And I told them, can I also pay you in dollars? And they're like, yeah. However, you must go to this platform, and I must go through this whole tax export declaration that I need to go and give to the bank in order to do that, and it will take an additional 3 or 4 days. And I'm like, no. Let's just get straight down to business. I'll just pay you in Chinese yuan, and we'll start the order right now. I don't want to wait a whole week for you to process the order. That's just not really efficient. On the rare chances, they may have customers already that sell on Amazon, and from secondhand information, they can give you some consultation. But from my experience, very little times do they have any overseas expertise when it comes to sourcing from the cheapest platforms. So if you want to know exactly how to filter the right suppliers with no MOQs, and maybe even finding the suppliers that have overseas experience on 1688, you should consider checking out this video right here.